to him about that, how he fishes shallow water, how he finds these out of the way. I think weren't you guys out fishing today?
Kinda.
More like trying to film something.
Hey everybody, welcome to Bass University Live. I'm Pete Gluzak, bringing it to you. We are on a Tuesday night, and we're just got done. We're all in studios. Well, a lot of us are there. We're all just got done watching a barn burner over at the MLF, pulling for our boy Ike to make it into the cut. Man, it looks like he came up a little bit short. I'm waiting for the results to stop spinning, but what a great event for Mike, and we were all rooting for him and pulling for him to make it in the cut. And I just saw an update. He's jumped into 8th place, and I don't know how accurate that is because it's still in real time. And I know if he's in 8th, he's in. He shows him in 8th place, 61-1. That's what his weight is, and it looks like him and Ish both slipped in 7th and 8th place at the moment. But who knows? Who knows what's going on? Rich?
I'm seeing the same thing Pete is here. Brian.
I mean, just to let you guys know, we were counting down the time. It was 6:59. Mike hooks up. We're like ready to go live. Go running across the room. Mike's got a fish on. They were saying he needed 2.3, and he weighed a 2.2. So I don't know.
I think they might have miscalculated. As I was looking at the score tracker, it looked like he needed less than 2 pounds to make it in.
Okay.
And so it's showing that he's in at 61.01. It's updating every 5 seconds here, so I don't know.
That was crazy, dude. That was pretty nuts. That was hype.
I know.
Maybe they went by the weight Mike said the fish weighed, and that would put him in.
Yes.
He'd always be in if that was the case.
When do we have an official? When will this be official on this?
Oh,
this event?
at the end of our show.
Okay.
So everybody have to wait.
Yeah.
We will be announced.
Fishing, we control that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I've watched Mike, lose some at the last minute, and this is in this format. That's the way it happens. You got to wait for the score tracker to finalize. So it's pretty awesome if the results are what I'm seeing right now, and I hope they are. Yeah. And wish you all the best, buddy. Really, we're all pulling for you, and we need to talk about that. We got. Hey guys, what we're going to be talking about tonight is we're going to be talking about fish care, and it's summertime. Hang in there with us. You guys fish tournaments. You guys catch fish in the summertime. It's important. The tournament organizations have their burden to take care of the fish and do the things that they need to do. But we as anglers, we as tournament competitors, we need to be able to do our best to take care of the fish. So we're bringing stuff to you tonight that is going to help you and help all of us and influence all of us to do the best job we can, especially now it's summertime. We're just getting off the post spawn here. Post spawn's happening up north. Fish are sensitive that time of year. The 90-degree temperatures are all over, and we need to know what to do. So we're bringing in some experts to talk to you guys tonight. We've got Corey Suski from the University of Illinois.
I would say Susky.
Susky?
That's what I'm saying.
All right. Well, we'll let him straighten us out.
Sure.
But and he's going to straighten us out on fish care. Science behind it. What we should be doing as far as water temperature in the live well additives, oxygenator, cull tags, non-piercing. What are the things that we should be doing to give our fish the best opportunity to get caught, weighed, and released, and have go out there and be able to be caught again and reproduce. That's what we want. That's what we all want as anglers. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And we've also got Luke Duncan, who's going to be here. And TH Marine is one of our partners, and we're proud to be associated with them and all the wonderful products that they make, including their fish care products, including G-Juice, the Oxygenator, their non-piercing cull tag system. We're going to be talking with Luke, a former FLW pro and web host or podcast host now.
Low
and of
Budget
course,
Live.
Low Budget Live, and he works over at TH Marine, and he's going to be able to enlighten us on their products and the best way to use them. So guys, if you have questions, you want to understand better how to care for your fish, bring them to us. We got the experts. You're going to be able to talk directly to them, and we're going to be bringing them to you here in just a minute. We've got the whole host of Mike Iaconelli fans watching in-house and zooming in. And by the way, I'm still seeing him in 8th place. So the updates have survived the 7 minutes. So
wow.
I think he might have squeaked right in there, man. That was pretty awesome.
Wow, dude, that was intense.
That was intense.
Highs and lows, man. Highs and lows.
Yep. That's the wonder of MLF. I mean, they bring that enthusiasm to the final seconds, and boy, what a barn burner this one was. So. And Rich, you blew out my eardrum. So
mine too.
Yeah. It was good to see the enthusiasm, and it's good to have you and BTC and GDP all hanging out with us in the studio tonight.
It's good to be here.
Yeah.
Great to have you here, Greg. It's great to have you here again.
Yeah.
Awesome. And of course we have the Ken Cyclopedia, the keeper of the scrolls,
The great and powerful.
The great and powerful Ken Duke. Good to have you with us, Ken.
Pleasure to be here, Pete. I appreciate y'all having me.
Oh, right on, man.
Absolutely. And we had some winner. Man, we're just full of winners in this group, and I love it. GDP and Riz were both active and winning some derbies in the last few days. So yeah, congratulations to that. I know
South Jersey Derbies.
That's right, buddy. Yeah. Oh, that's right. We did win this weekend.
Yeah,
I'm looking at Greg like, wait, what tournament did you win? And I'm thinking in my head, what tournament did I win? Now I know what you're talking about. Club tournaments.
Yeah,
That's right.
it actually feels good to fish at home, man. I enjoy it, man.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
That's good. How much did you win the other night?
How much money?
Yeah.
From the other one, 220.
220.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Yeah, I should fish.
And
that
you
for
fished it by
myself.
yourself. Split it with Kelly or nothing.
No, well, I didn't tell her I won.
But pretty soon, that's all right in half.
Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Even if she ain't there to help you.
Right down the center.
Right down the center, buddy.
Damn, huh? Makes some feeling.
Community bank account. Well, you were on the Maurice River, and that's in your backyard, man.
Literally, that is where I straight up learned how to catch them on a river. That's where I learned how to fish, man.
Yeah.
The first check I've ever cashed in my life, and as far as a club tournament, was on the Mars River.
Mars.
Yep.
Yeah. Up here we say Maurice, but down near the river it's Mars.
Mars River.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're saying it like a foreigner, Pete.
Well, I guess maybe I am. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I have fished the Maurice River.
I've seen you there before.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites, and this is the time of year that I love to fish it so much. I had talked to you about it. Yeah, the hotter the better. Those fish, get grouped up, and you can catch a lot of them in some small areas. So you did great, and it was very impressive winning weight. What was your winning weight?
It was like 8.5 or something, and so it was a club tournament. So second place came out of my boat also.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So he had a limit also, Mike Sims.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice.
I've been on the Mars probably 40 times, and I don't think I've ever cast it. Back when Brodzik had his buddy Dave had his 17-foot nitro with a 75 horse on the Merc on the back. We used to wakeboard and kneeboard and all kinds of stuff down there.
Yeah, it was actually, for fishing it, like as much as I have in the past, I caught them in an area where I've never caught them before. The reason being, I think, is because we just got a pile of rain up here.
Yeah.
The river was like gushing down. We had the perfect tide too, and all the normal stuff, there wasn't a fish on it.
Okay.
So I switched gears, and man, it freaking paid off as far as catching numbers, big time.
So without giving away a spot, how'd you figure out the change?
Typically, I even said to Mike in the boat, I said, dude, these fish just can't sustain in this current. I said, we got to make a change. This time of year for me, it's generally about the main river, like through and through. It's all about main river.
Yeah.
It just wasn't happening. I caught one fish in the main river, one big one, 3-pounder actually, and it just wasn't happening. So kept looking, and knowing the place so well, I could think to myself in my head, okay, where can I get out of current at? And that's where they were. It was like every cast we caught them. It was stupid.
So is it like eddies or
just a ditch runoff off the main river? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
drains.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So it was pretty cool.
Well, congratulations on your first place finish.
Thanks,
And I mean, that's a big deal for us, Ken, man. We catch 8 pounds. We break 10 pounds.
Yeah.
It's like you call home.
Yeah.
You know, it's a big deal.
I like it. Hey, man, first place is first place, whether it's 8.5 or 40 pounds. You know,
I agree.
first place. You're the best. Way to go, Greg.
Thanks, Ken. Hey, Riz, how'd your day go, buddy?
It was actually probably polar opposite of yours, Greg. We were fishing. You were fishing shallow current, and I was fishing deep, not current, clear water. Fished a tournament with me and my dad. Me and my dad fish a club together. We do one tournament a month with that club, and we were at a place called DOD, and I was fishing between 15 and 20 feet of water. And I had a cool little Bass University moment during the day. Normally, when I fish that lake, I have some pretty good success on a swim bait and fishing a finesse jig along the bottom. And I gave my dad the drop shot rod, and pretty early on he caught a fish on a drop shot, but it was a bluegill, and the bluegill had a really, chartreuse tail. It just, it was bluegill out in 15, 16, 17 feet of water. So I said, and I switched over to a different shape on my drop shot worm, more of a bulbous worm, green pumpkin, and dyed the tail chartreuse. And the first cast he made with that drop shot, he caught a 3-pounder. And we were able to repeat that and run it. And the deal was getting around the bluegill in 15 to 20 feet of water, rather than looking for the perch or looking for the shad. The bass were eating on those bluegills, and we were able to put together enough for a club tournament win. Great day on the water.
No doubt.
Good for you. Good for you guys. Ken, did you get out and derby fish this weekend?
I did not, sir. After a few days at Bienville Plantation, I had to get back to the desk, chain myself to it, and trying to get through ICAST week. So that's been my life for the last few days.
Yes, ICAST is upon us.
Indeed it is, sir. Yeah, it's back once again. Of course, it's not the same. Instead of in person, it's ICAST 2020 online. And, one of my biggest regrets is what I was telling Brian earlier, and that is that I don't get to see you guys. I only get to see you guys like once or twice a year. And that's usually one of the opportunities I have. So it sucks. It's like a big reunion there with all the industry people you only get to see once in a great while.
I miss it too for the same reason, and Brian misses it for the pool parties. But it's all, we're about to embark on it. It starts tomorrow, and it's going to go through Friday, and we're all going to participate here at the Bass University, and we are going to have the Bass University picks for the best in show. We don't want to hear it from the outdoor writers. We don't want to hear it from the retailers. We are picking our top picks. What's going to help you catch fish from Bass University?
I like it. You've got quite a bit to choose from. There are 424 entries out there, which is down a lot. It was almost 1,000 entries last year. It's down to 424 this year.
To be expected.
But the bass stuff really makes up the majority of it. In the rods and reels and the baits, there's just a ton of bass stuff out there. So you guys are going to stay pretty busy just looking through. And I'm really eager to hear what you guys have to say about the best new stuff out there. As a matter of fact, I even got a little panel trivia quiz for you.
Yes.
As we discuss ICAST here. And I've got an ICAST question for our viewers and listeners, too, for a nice prize a little later.
Yes, for our prize that we're giving away, a brand new, never before seen Cash and Rod, the new series. Take it away, Peter.
It's the Icon. Speaking of which, I got a look at the brand new Cashin Icon today. I was out with Matt Cashin, and we were filming for some stuff and catching some fish on the Upper Bay, and got to play with a flipping rod, a spinning rod, and a couple of their other rods that were just amazing. Super light, ultra sensitive, great feel. Really a tremendous rod that I'm excited to be using some of them this year. So that was really cool. It's the Icon. Guys, you answer Ken's question, you're going to win the Icon tonight.
That's right. That's
Can't even
right.
buy it yet, but you can win it here.
Can't even buy it, but you can win it by being a BassU.TV subscriber. And as always, we're going to be taking questions on the message board from our BassU TV subscribers. If you want to get signed up to be a part of the show tonight for free, you can do that by using the code BULive30. Use the code BULive30 for 30 days of free unlimited access to over 700 of the best instructional bass fishing videos that you will find. It's the best tournament anglers in the world, giving you information on how to catch more big bass. If you're over there on Facebook and you insist on loafing around, just milling around over there, not coming over to Bass U Live, that's okay. We're still going to give you a chance to win too. Make sure you like and share tonight's feed over there on Facebook, and you'll be entered in to win a super sweet prize pack, which is in front of me, which includes a Tackle Warehouse hat, a Storm Arashi glide bait, a pack of Nico hooks, a Tokyo rig, a Rapala rip and wrap, and an RTD rod threading device. So guys, if you're over on Facebook, please like and share tonight's feed so that you can have a chance to win that awesome prize.
Win that stuff.
The juice is over on BassU.TV. Any question that gets through tonight and we use it on the show, we're going to send you a prize. So guys, take advantage of it. BU Live 30, get with the program, start catching more big bass.
That's right.
Absolutely. And to guys, if you're just chiming in with us, we're going to be talking about fish care, what the anglers can do to better take care of their fish when you're tournament fishing, or whether you're just pleasure fishing, what we can do to handle fish and take care of them and give them the best chance to go out there and be with them with us for a long time to come. And we've got Corey Zuski. Is that Maurice or Morris? He's
Susky
Susky.
and Mars.
From the University of Illinois, and he's an expert in this field. So you're going to be able to ask him questions. We're going to be asking him questions. So we invite you to do that, as well as we got Luke Duncan with us and from TH Marine. Amazing products that help take care of your fish. So these guys are going to be with us tonight. So stay with us.
I got one thing, Pete.
Yes.
You forgot to ask me if I fished this weekend.
Did you fish this weekend?
I did. Thanks for asking, Pete. I had a tournament on Sunday.
You did?
I did. And I opted not to fish the tournament. And I drove an hour past where that derby would be and fished up in North Jersey with UFC future Hall of Famer, in my opinion, Jim Miller.
That's right.
So I just wanted to say that.
Yep.
Where was your derby supposed to be at?
Mercer?
Oh,
Yeah.
Dave Mercer's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave Mercer's house. Yeah. Mercer Lake.
Brian,
You
Brian,
fishing
did you
much?
skip
No,
the
never.
tournament?
Yeah.
Never touched
Did you
it.
skip the tournament because he threatened you and you're afraid of
Nah,
him?
I skipped it because it sounded like a lot more fun.
I agree.
You know? Tournaments are
so
cool and all,
instead-
but they ain't everything.
So instead of putting the boat on the trailer at 12, you just put it on the trailer from the start.
I watched there was UFC fights on that night. They ended about 1:30. I blinked for about 15 minutes, and then I was wide awake again. And 3 o'clock in the morning out there loading up the boat, heading north. So Jim's 2.5 hours north of me, so I got up there pretty early and got on the water. We had fun, man. Had a good
I
time.
heard you got there actually an hour and a half before the lake even opened.
Yeah, so that's a funny thing. I punched in the address of the lake, and it says, 2.5 hours north, and you're going to get there at 6:05. Opens at 8. I was like, you got me fucking shit, man. But
That sucks.
apparently they don't care about that up there because it was already 5 boats in the parking lot by the time I got there, and
Nice.
so we were good to go. But yeah, I thought
That's awesome.
I thought 2020 was just keeping it coming,
We got a derby Thursday.
Yeah, we do. Yes, this Thursday, the Thirsty Thursday Night Men's League. Me and GDP are fishing together this week. So
Watch out.
very excited for that.
Watch out, Riz.
Yeah, coming for you.
Awesome.
Rich.
Awesome. Well, we'll be watching. We'll be excited if you can pull this off like Mike did. The Facebook feed is lit up. Like, how are you guys sitting in your seats with what just happened?
We
And,
weren't.
it
We
is.
weren't.
We got it on video.
It was pretty exciting stuff.
It is. It is like Ike is in at 61-1 and Ott Defoe is in at 6 or not in at 61 even.
1 ounce. 1 ounce.
Wow.
1 ounce.
Love
So,
yacht, but Happy to see Mike in.
Yeah, I love
Love
big
you,
Ox
Otter.
fan. Yep. All right, we're ready for commercial. You guys ready?
Yeah, let's if I can, I want to give a couple shout outs here on the message board. It's lit up already tonight with our Bash U TV subscribers. We have Ike's Cackle of Smallmouth, Gary Ring, Wild Bill, Anthony Darren, Stephen Valley, David L, Team No Fish, Cole. And Cole's a new subscriber, by the way. He's the first time joining us here on the show. Happy to have you,
Cole?
buddy. We got Riz's Blue Power Poles on the board, Brian Kaiser, and many more. We appreciate all you guys signing up for Bash U and being a part of the show with us tonight. And guys, do it now. Go over there and sign up so that you can get with us on the message board.
Yep.
Outstanding. Guys, we're going to be talking fish care, so hang in there, stay with us. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back at Bash University Live.
The micro jig rod from Cashin is not only a micro jig rod, it also works great for shaky heads, also works great for wacky worms, also works great for smaller finesse style swim baits. So 7 foot 1 inch, medium action, fast taper. You want a workhorse spinning rod, you might want to look at the micro jig rod. I got one, and then I had to end up getting 3 or 4. So the micro jig rod by Cashin, your next workhorse in your spinning rods.
Every moment on the water not spent fishing is a moment wasted. That's why Minn Kota and Humminbird have joined forces to bring you the One Boat Network. Products that communicate and integrate to help you take full command of your boat. Born from our commitment to making the most advanced fishing gear even better by making it work together, the One Boat Network will help you find, get to, stay on, and catch more fish. When One Boat Network products talk to each other, they can navigate your boat automatically. They can give you a crystal clear view of what's below with no messy wires. And they can let you lower, raise, and change shallow water anchor modes from anywhere on the boat. But that's just the beginning. We're never done innovating, integrating, and making your boat simpler and easier to control. All so you can make every second on the water count.
Tackle Warehouse is proud to sponsor the FLW Pro Circuit and is the official tackle retailer of FLW, providing proven bass fishing gear as well as the newest and hottest tackle. Our friendly and knowledgeable customer service staff can help you every step of the way. And we offer free ground shipping on orders over $50. Tackle Warehouse. Everything for the bass angler at the lowest prices. Guaranteed.
I have to be constantly on the lookout for new techniques to stay on the top of my game.
Giant!
Some have been more successful than others.
Giant.
The finesse fingernail.
Happens every time.
The chain gang.
Broke it off.
The crow's nest.
Never let go.
And don't even get me started on tackle management, especially trying to stop rust and corrosion. Peanut butter.
Not good.
Motor oil.
Gotta keep the rust off all these baits.
WD-40.
Keep the rust off.
Silica, toothpicks, Q-tips, the list goes on and on. I'm hard on tackle, I fish fast, I need my tackle organized and protected. I can't be worrying about losing baits to rust. And when it comes to tackle management, there's only one solution. Flambeau Tackle Storage Systems with Z-Rust technology. The original anti-rust tackle box. Uncompromised clarity. Renowned durability. The infused anti-rust option that is FDA safe and free of harmful chemicals. The organization options are endless, but there's only one. One box, one anti-corrosion technology, one family-owned American-made brand, Flambeau Z-Rust Tackle Solutions. Preserve, perform, repeat.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Bash University Live. Man, we are also thrilled, and I see all the message boards lit up with it. Our boy Ike has stormed into the finals over at the Bass Pro Tour event that's taking place in Wisconsin right now. Smallmouth factory up there, and man, it's just so exciting to see them storm in by 1 ounce, edging out Ott Defo. So sorry, Ott, we love you too, buddy. You're one of our faves, and I see Bobby Lane and James Elam, all Bass University instructors, all packed up, in that cut line. So that was pretty awesome. But guys, we are talking tonight about fish care, and I want to introduce Corey Susky from University of Illinois, an expert in this arena, and I would just want to welcome you to the show, Corey.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's a treat. You've done a tremendous amount of study in this area that is all so important to us. I know, as anglers, we spend a lot of time, in these tournaments, and the tournament trails are responsible for their side of fish care and management, and they're doing the things that they do. And I want to talk, tonight about the things that the anglers can do, things that we can do better and improve. Take time and take care of our fish. So in this hot weather, especially, we're giving these fish the best chance for survival. So there's so many topics that I have listed down here, and I don't quite know where to start, because I've got a few bullet items of what's most important. We're out there, we're catching fish, we're putting them in our live wells, and do you want to tackle live well additives first? Is that something that we can address about the importance of the various G-Juice catch and release products that we use? Because I think that's the most commonly used product by consumers, is to take care of their fish. And I'm wondering, what you recommend in that arena.
So that's a really good question, and unfortunately, I haven't looked at that in a lot of detail, so I don't really know specifically about those products or what's in them. Part of it too is I think some of those products, not all of them, they're somewhat proprietary, and so the companies might be a little bit hesitant to say what's in there, and that makes perfect sense to me. And so I don't have a really good, product by product comparison or what goes in there. But having said that, and the folks in the aquaculture area has been doing this for a long time. A little bit of salt actually can be really, really good. And I don't mean like a lot. I mean just a little bit of salt fish after being caught, when they're kind of bounced around a live well a little bit, they can start to lose some of the ions that are in their blood, and so a little bit of salt in the water can actually help provide those ions for them when it comes to fish care.
That's so interesting.
Corey, when you mention salt, are we talking about rock salt? Are we talking about table salt? How much should go in?
So any salt is salt, right? It doesn't really matter what it comes from. But again, I don't really know if anyone's done the work to sort of say this is too much or this is too little, right? I think the hatchery folks might do like a 2% or a 5% or whatever, but then that gets kind of that. But I don't really know if we've got really good numbers on that. And then obviously that changes when you're putting if you're pumping water through. So that's kind of a dynamic situation. But overall, when it comes to those additives, the one part of, I'm not super familiar with those. I don't know if those would be my number one go-to thing, but of the ones that are in there, if there's some salt in there, that would be the thing that I'd kind of look for.
I've seen hydrogen peroxide being talked about and put in, but well, let me ask you. Let me just go right to this. What is the most important thing an angler can do when it comes to fish care?
I'm an oxygen guy. And so I like oxygen and air exposure. I think those are the two big ones for me, and based on some of the stuff that we've done. And so oxygen and air exposure come in a bunch of different forms. That obviously can be in the live well in terms of just running your live well, making sure that's going, that there's fresh water being pumped in. The aerate function I'm not really too sure on. I don't really, have a lot to say on that one, but I think that at least bringing in fresh water is a key. And then even just air exposure during, when you're culling fish, when you're sort of handling them, those kinds of things. So minimizing that air exposure, and then that will also carry over into the weigh-in too. And holding fish. A big one that people don't really think about is holding fish in bags. If the bags are not perforated, or if bags are not don't have little like slots in them when they're just waiting in line to weigh in, the oxygen in those bags can go down very, very, very quickly. And then even air exposure during weighing and those kinds of things. So those are, in my experience, oxygen and air exposure are the two that I think are the most important.
And I see that in the Bassmaster tournaments that I compete in, they're great. When we bring our fish up to the scale, and they have a perforated bag that we take the fish, out of the water of our bag, and we put them into these giant tanks that are cooled and aerated. And we keep them in those tanks prior to placing them on the scales. And well, to your point of keeping that oxygen, in that scenario, I think that's the best deal, because so many times, I'd love to see all tournament trails have that aerated staging tank.
Yep. And one of the things that I think, for some of the work that we've done previously with some of the other tours, it was a sort of a watershed moment when we gave the tournament staff an oxygen meter, and they were able to measure oxygen and actually look at it, because oxygen, you can't really see it, obviously, and so you're just kind of guessing, you don't really know. But until you actually get the numbers and look at the number, it was actually, that was a big eye-opening sort of watershed moment for them, where they're just like, whoa, that really dropped a lot. And so that made sense when they could see those numbers in front of them.
Yeah.
And oxygen meters are really simple. I mean, the analogy that I'll use is, if you can work a thermometer, you can work an oxygen meter. They're about the same level, right? It's 50 degrees. I need a sweater, right? It's 90. I probably got to go with shorts. If you can do that, if that's all it really is, right? If it's below 5, you got to be careful. Don't get it too high. And so that's about the technology, and it's cheap and it's easy.
Well, I've seen the air stones at a lot of the tournament sites too, where when you're at the staging tanks, you can actually put the air stones directly in your bag. Which is right in line with that thinking. So we're going to keep our aerators running, and I know we definitely do that. And guys, I want to invite you to bring your questions to Corey. We're talking about fish care, what's important, what you can do to help your fish and in your tournament situation, or whatever you're doing. And Rich, I think we've got a question or two on the IM board.
Yeah, we do, Pete. We got a question from Bruce Callis on the message board. What's up, Brucey? He wants to know, how important is it on managing the water temperature in your live well? How much does that help the fish to keep the water temperature down?
So that's a really good question. My experience with this has been that small changes in water temperature are not a big deal for largemouth. Most of the work we've done is with largemouth. But small changes in temperature, and by small I mean 4 to 5 degrees, the fish are usually pretty good with those types of changes. We did a study a few years ago where we actually measured the temperature in a live well and compared it to the temperature of the surface part of the lake. And there was very little difference in the live well temperature compared to the surface of the lake. I mean, people were filling their boats from the surface of the lake, and the fish are not down, at super deep depths. And so the point is that when fish were brought on the boat, they were basically experiencing the same water temperature that they were when they were in the lake. So the flip side, so the point is that water temperature shouldn't really change all that much. Doesn't really change all that much. Having said that, that study was done sort of here in Illinois, and the water temperatures were high, but it wasn't places like Texas. It wasn't down in Florida where it could get extremely hot. So I think you got to be a little careful with that. But the flip side is also true, where one of the things we did find as being a problem is if there's too much ice in a live well. So I know that people have been encouraged to put some ice in a live well, and I think there's some value in that. But too much ice is definitely a bad thing, and it's basically cold shock for the fish, right? So it's like being in the shower and having someone flush the toilet. It's very unpleasant, catches you by surprise. And the other thing is that fish are cold-blooded, so the speed at which their engine is running will depend on the temperature of the water. So you take a fish and you plop it into cold water, everything kind of slows down because now the animal is a lot cooler, and it just takes it that much longer to recover. So my experience has been that small little changes in temperature are not a big deal. Live wells filled from the surface should be about the same temperature as the fish, and too much ice can actually be a bad thing.
Well, it's that's interesting because we use a lot of ice. We've been schooled on that, and we try to I've been I'm aware that too much ice is shocking, right? Because of exactly what you said, but lowering that water temperature a little bit, that's going to help our dissolved oxygen.
Well,
right?
so that's an oxygen thing, right? So that's your aerator, and oxygen and temperature can be separate things. But you're right. I mean, there'll be a little bit more oxygen, but until there's a meter there, until you actually have an oxygen meter and you know what's going on, then that it becomes sort of a black box, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I will say this, and I've seen this, and you're right. Generally speaking, that the water temperature of a lake is the same as in your live well in most situations. But what I have seen is a lot of times we're weighing in a protected harbor or a backwater that is shallow and could be 10 degrees hotter than the surrounding areas.
Yep. So that'll be a change. That can happen too. Or fish are sort of down deep-ish, but you're never going to get fish super deep. They're not going to go below like the thermoclines. They're always going to be in the warmer part of the lake. So,
right. Well, my advice there, guys, is stop filling your live wells once you enter the harbors, and that is I think pretty sound advice. And because you can keep that, you want to keep that same water temperature of where generally where you caught your fish, and I think that's helpful. What do you got, Ken?
Doctor, I was curious about, you mentioned the ice, and one of the things I've always tried to be cognizant of is not using ice that's coming out of my home freezer because it's going to have chlorine in it and things like that. I'm assuming that's something we need to watch out for. And would you recommend what a lot of guys do, which is freeze a small bottle of water and throw a couple of those in there? Is that the best way to add a little ice?
I think so. Like, I don't really know of a lot of data on that, but yeah, generally chlorine and chlorinated water. I mean, you want to sort of try and avoid that if you can, just to minimize the bad stuff that's going in the water.
And I know we're talking additives at the moment, and that's very important because that's one of the things guys can't control. But what about live well volume? That's one of the things anglers really can't do much about. They bought a bass boat, their live well is just so big, but is live well volume a real concern in a lot of bass tournaments?
I think it comes down to the volume of the live well relative to how many fish are in there.
Of course,
right?
Yeah.
So that to me is what it would be, and that's obviously hard to predict. But small volumes, if you got a lot of fish in a really tight space, then that's where it's going to become the oxygen. Again, it goes back to oxygen. The oxygen is just going to drop really, really quickly in that situation.
Is there a rule of thumb? Maybe it seemed like, and I could be wrong about this, but it seemed like the Shimano live release boats that BASS used, there was an informal rule that you could have about a pound of bass for every gallon of water in there, some ratio like that, some very simple. Is that useful also in a conventional bass boat live well, or is there a better formula?
That's a good question. That's going to vary with water temperature though too, right? So when it's warmer, then you're going to need more water. If it's cooler, then you got more of a cushion there. So again, I think that's where the data, the oxygen meter is a good tool.
So so if you're a guy like me and you only catch fish, 6 pounds and up, you'd want to if you can use both live wells, that would be a huge advantage, a huge benefit to the fish.
Yep. Or just making sure that the pump is running all the time. But obviously you can't run it all the time or when you go into the harbor and that kind of thing. But as much as possible, running that pump and keeping that fresh water from coming in.
Corey,
a lot of guys.
Hold on, Pete.
Okay.
In your professional opinion, how damaging has the Senko been to the population of the bass? I mean, can we say that it has single-handedly gut hooked and killed more bass than any lure in the history of ever?
That could be happening. I'm not sure on that one, but that could be happening.
I concur.
Don't listen to him, Corey.
That's a shot at Pete right there. Don't worry about that one.
He's just jealous.
Yeah. Ban the Senko. Back to you.
We've had some talk on the show. The smallmouth guys, they go to the effort to buy oxygen tanks, and they pump pure oxygen into their live wells in addition to their aeration systems. I'm assuming that goes along. You have your oxygen meter. That's got to increase your oxygen levels.
Mm-hmm. And so, but that's another one where you got to be a little bit careful because too much can actually be a bad thing. So fish are really interesting because the reason that you and I breathe is because we build up carbon dioxide. When we get so much carbon dioxide, that triggers our body and forces us to breathe. The reason that fish breathe is the absence of oxygen. So when there's no oxygen, that makes them breathe. So if you have an oxygen infusion system and it gets too high and the oxygen level gets too high, it can actually stop fish from breathing because the oxygen's too high. Wow. So that people will turn on the oxygen and they'll look in their live well and they'll see fish that are nice and calm and they're all relaxed. And like, this is great. Look how calm the fish are. They're super relaxed. But they have too much oxygen and they're not breathing, and that'll actually impair things and that'll actually slow processes down. So too much can be a bad thing. Now, again, low oxygen is bad, and too much oxygen is bad. So again, it's sort of that. It's nice to be in that sort of middle area.
I got to weigh in on this just a little bit, and this is going to come from Riz's broken boat everything findings. So the recirc on my boat doesn't work. So when I'm fishing tournaments all day long on a timer, I'm constantly pumping fresh water into my boat, and I mean it fills up the bilge of the boat because it overflows a little bit. But in the same sense, is it better to keep fresh water coming? And I think you may have already answered this, but is it better to keep fresh water coming in from outside of the boat, meaning you're pulling it in out of the lake or out of the river or wherever, rather than recirculating the same water through the live wells over and over and over? Like, is there a max amount of times that you can recirculate that water and it still be useful for the fish?
My sense would be if you're pulling in the fresh water, that's better, right? Because that's going to be more oxygenated. And again, to me, that if you had an oxygen meter, then you would know. So what's the max time? Well, until the oxygen gets down below a certain threshold, 3, 4, 5 milligrams per liter per parts per million, that would, so again, if it's cool water and you have a low volume of fish, you're probably okay. But if you have a high weight of fish and it's really, really warm, then you're probably going to get yourself into trouble a little faster.
What do you got, Ken?
Oh, I was going to say, Doctor, we keep talking about the oxygen meter and how useful that would be. So, and I know bass have a very narrow range, I guess, of an ideal oxygen range. It's something like 8 to 11 parts per million or something like that. Is that where you would recommend keeping it if you had an oxygen meter? And my follow-up to that is, where can we get a good functioning oxygen meter?
So if they're actually a little bit bigger, you can get down to like 5-ish or whatever. Like, it doesn't have to be just from 8 to 11, but like 5 to 10 or 11, 100% saturation will be around 10 or 11, and that's going to go down with water temperature, right? So warm water holds less oxygen,
right? And
there's a double-edged sword, right? Because warm water means that fish need more oxygen, so their engines are running faster, so they need more, but there's less of it available. So that's why you run out your cushion's a lot smaller. But yeah, so it's a relatively large range. And then where to get one? I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, there's enough scientific. We would end up get ours from scientific supply stores, but the hatchery companies, aquaculture companies, those kinds of places, they'll get them, and they're not super expensive. They're not. It's in the grand scheme of things, in the grand scheme of a boat and all the sort of electronics on a boat, it's actually a relatively small number, probably in the hundreds of dollars. I don't have any in front of me, but in the hundreds of dollars, a couple $100 or something. Especially if you got one at a tournament circuit too, that would be, it's not going to crush them.
Oh, very good. That's fascinating. And until this conversation, it never occurred to me that I need to get an oxygen meter, but now I see the value of it, because otherwise everybody out there is just guessing.
Yeah.
And if they're telling me they know something, they're kidding themselves to a great degree. So this is the real deal, and I hope a lot of folks will take a page out of the doctor's book here and try to do better.
Well, we all want to do better, and I know, Rich, we have some IM questions.
Yes, we do. We have a question from Lloyd Rahim, and he wants to know, does having culling clips on the fish stress the fish out in the live well if you have culling clips on them?
That's a good question. if I had to guess, I'd say, if there's just something that's kind of clipped on there, I mean, if you're piercing through, or if it's like the safety pin style, I mean, then you can kind of rip things. But if it's just sort of clipped on there or whatever, that's probably not going to be a huge problem for the fish. They probably won't notice that as much as it would be that they're just in the live well, right? And it's just a different sort of environment, and they're kind of stuck in there with their friends. So I don't think that would be a big problem from a stress perspective.
When Pete first started tournament fishing, they actually would brand them. They would keep a hot iron in the boat, and they would brand the fish as they brought them in. He would have PG stamped on the side of it.
Quite a few.
The one that's
I remember.
Thank you.
I remember hearing stories about guys clipping fins so that they could mark their small fish. And before we had cull tags, before that existed, way back in the day, they had to mark them somehow. So we're glad that. What's that?
Or just look in there instead of marking them.
I know. I don't understand. But the time for the piercing cull tag people is over. And I still find that, of course, I do a lot of guiding and teaching on Chesapeake, and I know GDP does as well. And I do get frustrated when we catch a fish and it has a hole in its lower jaw from a piercing cull tag. So guys, and we're going to be talking with Luke Duncan about the products that TH makes, the non-piercing cull tag systems, and they're readily available. They're not expensive, and it's time we all converted over to that, guys.
100%.
So BTC, I don't know why you're on me tonight, but we got Senko, we got branding, but
they're just presenting themselves, Pete. It's just I don't know.
I appreciate it. Do you have any advice? Now, you mentioned this earlier, that less airtime is better, right? We want to get these fish caught. We want to get them in the live well. Do you have any information for us on the actual handling of fish? That anything that we could? What is the best way that we could handle fish, get them in the live well, and get them to the weigh-in?
Well, I think, probably easiest to answer that in terms of like what sort of not to do, right? Like, so like trying not to have everybody flopping on the carpet. I mean, fish are going to get dropped and those kinds of things happen. But, if you can keep, because that loses their slime, right? So slime is a good thing for fish.
Mm-hmm.
So try to minimize slime loss. And so if you're going to net them, like a smooth rubber nets are good rather than like the knotted ones, the really thin stuff. So a gentle net or gentle sort of cloth net. Flopping on the carpet is another one. And then, again, thinking about how, we kind of talked about it before, but when you are weighing in, if you're standing in line, I like, having a aerated area, air stones in the bags, those kinds of things, and then just minimize the air exposure. It happens, meaning, you got to compare the fish, you got to weigh them, photos, all that kind of stuff, but just sort of minimizing that and just being aware that fish don't breathe when they're in air, or sometimes we'll just dunk them back in for like a moment or two, and then if you got to finish it off, like just dunk them back in and give them a little sort of breath, and then pull them back out. So just realizing that when they are air exposed, they're just not getting any oxygen.
Right. What do you got, Ken?
Doctor, you touched on a couple of points that have always kind of driven me crazy, being in the tournament world for a long time, and you talked about nets. And you talked about fish hitting the deck, and we all watch television fishing shows, tournament shows, and stuff like that. And on virtually all of these, nets are outlawed, and you see a lot of these fish boat flipped, just yank them up, and a lot of these fish wind up hitting the deck, usually inadvertently, but a lot of these fish hit the deck. And in my experience, seeing some bass in aquariums and stuff like that, if a bass hits the deck, hits a carpet in warm weather, I live in Florida, that fish is pretty much dead. I've seen an 80+% of those fish subsequently die. Is a rubberized net or a soft cloth net a dramatically better way to care for these fish than boat flipping them and letting them hit the deck surface?
That is a good question. I don't have any kind of hard and fast answer on that, but my guess would be the net would be better because the carpet is just, it's like a towel, you're just sort of wiping it off, as opposed to like a rubber net or a cloth net that might be a little bit more gentle. But but I don't want to say that for sure, but that would be my knee jerk on that one.
It's just that, of course, the tournament organizations are trying to make things interesting and exciting for television, and there's a lot more excitement in yanking a big fish through the air than there is to net it. But
yeah,
I've always had a real conflict with that, and I was curious about your take on it.
Does a wet carpet as opposed to a dry carpet make a difference on how much it's going to damage the fish?
That's a good question. I don't. I would just be kind of guessing, right? But I would guess the wet one would be a little bit more gentle,
right.
but I think a lot of it's just the surface and sort of that just really high surface area on that carpet with all the sort of fibers in there.
And I'm not saying that tournament guys to go spray your boat down with a carpet with a hose before the tournament, right? But I mean, it's a known thing that in tournaments, a lot of times when guys are culling fish, they'll take multiple fish out of the live well and they'll put them down on the carpet to look at the size of these fish to see, which one's bigger, which one doesn't need to even be beamed. You just pull them out and look. I may be throwing myself under the bus here by saying this, but I have done that in the past. But I keep a gallon jug of water in the boat with me at all times, and that's for me to drink. And there's usually some other bottles of water around. But when I do that, this year specifically, I made it a point to I completely wet the area of the carpet that I'm going to be culling my fish in, so that if one does hit the carpet, it's not hitting a 95-degree dry carpet. It's hitting a wet, moist carpet that may not destroy the slime coat as much. I feel like that helps a little bit. So if you're culling fish that way, just put in the efforts to keep them protected as much as possible.
Yeah, I think we got to get away from culling fish that way. I think you just got to get in the habit of cull tags as you catch them. Unless you're fishing South Jersey, you're not going to catch a limit. But if you're catching limits, you really ought to be tagging your fish as you go. I mean,
fortunately, Rich's deck is actual living milfoil. Yeah. So that helps a lot.
I actually had a question on the message boards that came in related to that, and to Hog Snatching wanted to know if there would be any benefit to putting vegetation from the body of water that you're fishing in the live well when you have fish in there.
I don't think there'd be any. I mean, it's not really going to put enough oxygen in the water. So the plants will produce oxygen, but it's not going to put enough oxygen in there to make a difference, I don't think. Because you close the lid, and because the plant needs to be photosynthesizing to produce oxygen, right? So you close the lid, and it's not getting any light, so it's not going to produce any oxygen. But then, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to hurt. It might clog your pump.
You might put a habit trail in there so they can run on the wheel while they're in there, so they don't get bored, and start bumping into stuff. I don't know.
It's maybe the vegetation. It's like a blankie.
The security blanket, yeah.
Yeah.
Reminds them of home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're putting you back in your home. You're fine.
Yeah,
you're fine.
I mean, I guess, yeah. I mean, again, something tells me that they're probably, thinking about other things, and the plant's probably not really going to do much. I don't think it's going to hurt, but I don't think it's really going to do much.
Well, one thing, as we're addressing your question, Riz, is I carry a cull bag in my boat, and I'll put water in that, and I'll put my fish in that bag to keep them from hitting the carpet, and try to treat them as
right.
As best as I can. But as more I think about this, and we're having this conversation, and I've been a proponent of a balance beam because the balance beam doesn't lie, and it really shoots you the truth on which one's bigger and which one's not. And I see so many guys using the Rapala scale that does the culling for you, and boy, that really minimizes your handling of the fish by using a scale like that and not using a balance beam. And this conversation, if nothing else, is influencing me to move more in that direction.
I think it's about getting good culling habits just from jump, especially when you're fishing places that you're going to catch them. Just not wait until you got you catch your sixth one to deal with it. You know, as they go in, you mark them. If it's on a Rapala scale, you've got the weight. It just makes it so much easier. It's really just about creating better habits as anglers. You know,
and I think a lot of this comes down to too. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of people watching this show that haven't been bass fishing for 20 years, 15 years. They don't have a lot of experience with culling, and you know, they may be just getting into the tournament scene. I think when it comes down to it, some is always better than none. If you make some efforts at least to preserve these fish and, you know, keep that fish healthier throughout the day, any efforts that you make are going to do more than if you're just doing nothing and you're just letting them bake and just roasting your live well on the floor, flopping around. Guys, just, you know, make those little efforts, because, you know, that one effort that you make may help keep that one fish alive. So let's do what we can.
Yeah, never give up sometimes.
And people are creative too, right? So it's different situations, and people come up with cool ideas and really funky ideas. So I think a lot of it is, like you said, just getting the word out there and getting this, planting these seeds in people's minds and letting them realize, well, this could be a problem, this could be a problem, and then people can sort of adapt and go with it, and hopefully things kind of grow from there.
Good, Ken.
Oh, I'm sorry. Corey, you mentioned in one of your papers, and I really enjoyed reading your work. I wasn't able to read a lot of it, unfortunately, but you did a paper in 2015 on live well temperatures and so forth. And one of the things you mentioned in there was the turbulence and things like that in a live well. I guess when an angler is moving across the water, especially at a high rate of speed in rough water, or even trailering a boat with fish in the live well. Is there anything anglers can do to lessen the effects of that kind of turbulence and trauma to a fish?
Yeah, and that can be tough too, especially if you're running long distances, right? So that's where that can kind of be become important. And I guess, I mean, unfortunately, I don't have a really good answer for that, other than keeping, you know, so then fill the live well full if you can do it, and then, you know, especially on the trailer, then, you know, run the recirc pump and run the aerators if you've got them, and that kind of thing. And again, I think a lot of it's just being aware that if you're not careful, you know, you can run and get yourself into trouble, especially at high water temperatures. So, you know, lower, cooler water temperatures in the 50s or whatever, you're going to have a lot more cushion. So just being aware and doing what you can to keep the water full, keep the pumps going, keep the aerators going, and hopefully you can kind of keep ahead of it.
Yeah, to chime in real quick. So one of the things a lot of guys do on tour, especially like St. Lawrence is coming up, you know, a lot of big runs, a lot of big giant smallmouth. A lot of guys are getting pool noodles, you know, cutting them to the width of their live well and just stacking them all inside there. It kind of gives them, a live well pillow, you know, as far as rough water goes. I almost think almost everybody does it, so it must definitely help. I mean, I've done it in the past. You know, I've never really had an issue with smallmouth dying on me, so it must help. I
think that's a great example, again, of just being creative, right? Here's a problem, what can we do to be creative? And probably the word got out, and, you know, the fish aren't doing well, let's try and do something, and people come up with a cool idea. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah. And the same thing, too, to, you know, kind of get on this, too. Like, fizzing is everything. And I know a lot of guys probably are, number one, scared to do it, or B, just don't know how to do it. But, man, fizzing is everything, you know, and as soon as you catch that big... The thing about smallmouth that I've come to notice, it doesn't matter if it's shallow or if it's deep. Almost every smallmouth you put in the live well will float upside down unless you fizz it. Shallow or deep. Largemouth, different story. They got to be deep to fizz them. But fizzing, man, it's just... Your rate of keeping them alive is 100%. I mean, they just stay perfect. I don't know if you guys ever fizzed or not.
Doctor, have you seen any studies on that where you're releasing the air bladder from a fish and its effects?
I think the studies that I've seen are, I mean, I don't think it's really been done super well. You know what I mean? Because I know that anytime you talk to anyone who fishes, they're like, this is really, really good. And so, and obviously they're seeing the fish and you know, but I don't know if it's because we haven't like done a good job with it in the lab. We haven't gone out to enough tournaments to do it or whatever. But I mean, I know that people like it, and the people that do it swear by it. And so, I mean, it must be coming from somewhere. They're obviously seeing the fish. They wouldn't be doing it if they're going to be weighing in dead fish, right? So
yeah. So, you know, for our next tournament on St. Lawrence, there's a mandatory fizzing meeting for all the anglers. You know, we had that last year too, and the survival rate last year was super high for the St. Lawrence. You know, you're talking giant smallmouth, summertime hot water for up there. and everybody fizzed last year, so no problems at all.
Mm-hmm.
Doctor, there are some aftermarket products in there out there for live wells, some of which claim to, you drop them in there and they claim to take the oxygen and generate bubbles and create or somehow better manipulate the oxygen in the live well so that it's more usable by the fish. Now, it strikes me that this is complete garbage. But I'd love to get a scientist's take on that.
Yeah, I'd say buy an oxygen meter, and then you'll know if what it's gonna do. I mean, that would be, rather than investing in all these things that may or may not work. I mean, and they could work, they could be really good, right? But until you've actually and presumably, if you go to like the product's website, maybe they've got data there, maybe they've done that, and they can kind of share that. But until I would say get an oxygen meter or borrow one. Maybe convince like a tournament circuit to get one, and you can kind of play with it right before you kind of to get into it or whatever. But until you actually play with it and get the numbers, I think that'd be a good place to start.
Well,
Yeah.
I like your shirt, Doctor.
Oh yeah, it's sharks.
I kind of got a dumb question for you. So like, where we live here in South Jersey, most guys are building John boats, making live wells themselves. I have this one kind of like bait box live well that I used to use in the past, and maybe this is a reason why, I don't know. Hearing you say what you're saying, if I ran the live well nonstop with fish inside of it, I feel like is there a live well pump per gallon per hour that can basically make too much oxygen? And the reason I'm saying this is because when I would run the pump all day, when I'd come to weigh in, I would have like foam all up inside of my little tiny live well. Is that because of too much oxygen? Is that just making the foam? Because here where I live, there's a river system, and it has a dam on it. And when we get a lot of big rain, one thing I notice is down the very bottom of the dam, it's all foamy. So is that kind of doing the same thing? Is that what that is?
If I had to guess, I don't think if all you're doing is pulling in like water from the water body.
This is just water recirculating.
Water recirculating. I don't think it's going to over oxygenate that. I don't like, it might go up a bit, but I don't think it's going to be to the point of being a concern. And again, the foam is probably something that's in the water or slime or some product that's in the water as opposed to too much oxygen. But usually my guess is if you're just recirculating it, I don't think you're going to over oxygenate it.
Okay. Yeah, I never really had a problem with the fish, but like you said, they kind of get.
Yeah.
They just lay there. You wouldn't even recognize it. So it was always an issue. Not an issue, but I always had foam 24/7 in that small bait live well.
I got to tell you, one of my biggest takeaways from this whole conversation that is really standing out to me is that there needs to be a concentrated effort to be pulling in fresh water from the lake on these live wells throughout the day, rather than just continuing to pump that same like used up water throughout the live well. Am I onto something there, Doctor? As far as like, can you only recirculate water a certain amount of times until there's no more oxygen available, and you're just pumping water with no oxygen left in it?
Probably, yep. And again, if it's warm, it's going to be a bigger problem. But I think pulling in the fresh, so if there's pulling in the fresh water, we'll if there's any sort of accumulated waste usually doesn't accumulate, but you get rid of that. You just keep the water fresh. I don't really think the live well is going to heat up. I mean, it might, but I think it's just better for the fish, I think, if you're just always pumping it in, if you can do it.
Gotcha. And we had a question on the board from Anthony Darren. He wants to know, does having a bleeding fish in the live well, does that cause any damage to the other fish? Like if you have one that's bleeding out and you're pumping that bloody water throughout your system, does that damage the other fish that you have?
I don't think so. I don't think it'll affect the other fish. They should be, I think they'll just sort of, they don't even notice it. Some fish, but like I don't think large
fish actually dies.
I still don't think. I mean, I don't think they're going to really care. I don't think they'll even really notice. They might be a little creeped out, but I don't think they'll be. I don't think it's going to be a huge problem.
Doctor, do you have any tips on taking care of a bleeding fish, like ways to help that fish survive?
No, you took it from me, Rich.
I think, yeah. So, fish are usually pretty good at stopping bleeding, right? Like obviously, if we get a cut, our blood eventually clots, and because we don't want to lose all of our blood, because that would be bad. But fish are really good at clotting, and they clot really quickly. Kind of makes sense when they're in water, right? So it's going to be harder for them to more likely for them to totally bleed out. So I think, I would say I don't really know of any sort of magic remedies that will stop the bleeding faster or anything that can accelerate it, other than just leave it alone quickly, and if you can, you release it if you need to, or if it, meaning rather than keeping it in the live well where it could be warm or it could be getting bounced around, where you can sort of compound all the problems. If it's looking a little dubious, you maybe release it and maybe give it a little better fighting chance if it's back in the lake, rather than kind of having multiple stressors while it's in the live well.
And that gets us to the Mountain Dew question, right, Pete?
Yes.
Brian, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead with it, Ken.
No, you guys are. I've never done it. Never tried it.
No, I've never done it either, but I recently read an article, and I couldn't find it. Maybe Corey, you were able to come across it. Pardon?
You dreamed it?
Yeah, I dreamed this article.
I've definitely tried it.
Yeah,
and it stops like instantly.
Okay, so the article that I read, and it seemed to be backed by pretty good scientific knowledge, at least he used big words and fooled me, but basically said that there's a chemical agent in Mountain Dew that slows and pauses the heartbeat, and that is the lack of blood pump that you're seeing, but it is not cauterizing or clotting. And Doctor, were you able to find that article?
So I've seen that, and then I saw the study where people sort of looked at that and they kind of tested it. So they tested Mountain Dew, and they tested Coke, and they tested just carbonated like lake water, and a couple of other things. They chilled some of they took warm Mountain Dew and cold Mountain Dew, and based on that study, there was no difference. The Mountain Dew didn't do anything to have the fish stop bleeding faster. The fish that had no Mountain Dew stopped bleeding at the same rate at the fish that had Mountain Dew.
Yeah. See, that's. I wonder about that, because anybody that's actually used Mountain Dew will say in practical use that it does. And I know if we go on here and say that it doesn't, there's a lot of guys that have actually done it. And Greg's right here staring daggers at me, and there's a bunch of guys watching the show that have actually done it and says it 100% works. What this article that I found or read, allegedly or dreamt, said that that it's a misnomer. It's not stopping the bleeding. It's only pausing it through another reaction. So anyhow.
Yeah, and so I don't really know. That's another one where people do it. It's like sort of like fizzing or whatever, right? Where the anglers have done it and they're like, yeah, this works. Like I've seen it work. And then so I don't know if so the study they did that on was with with pike. So maybe there's a species thing. I don't really know, but the other thing is, which is sort of neat to do, is have
fizz pike. Pike are shallow water fish.
Or not fizz, but the Mountain Dew. The Mountain Dew was with pike.
Yep.
But what you almost need to do is have two fish bleeding, right? I mean, that's kind of morbid, right? But
yes.
But you get my point. You have two fish bleeding.
Pete had that every 3 fish. He's got 2 bleeding.
Have 2 fish bleeding, and on one of them dump the Mountain Dew, and on the other one you don't, right? And I think that's what the study did. And the study would say, well, yeah, they both stop bleeding pretty quick. And so, at least, yeah, that was kind of the punchline to that study. It was like, well, all the fish will stop bleeding pretty quickly. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't have a good answer on that.
Can we just all agree that that's probably the best thing you can do with Mountain Dew, because it tastes awful?
Number one selling drink where we live.
It's great for your teeth.
There's always Mountain Dew in my boat. Ew. And it will continue to be that way.
Just
and I don't often drink. I don't even often drink it. But
coat the deck of your floor with it.
But there's always a Mountain Dew bottle in the boat. I mean, it my eyes tell me that it works, and it makes me believe it works. So
Yep.
Hey guys, I think it's I got Luke Duncan sitting in the queue in the waiting room. So we ready to bring Luke in?
Absolutely.
Luke Duncan.
All right, let me bring him forthwith.
Yeah, I wonder if the Mountain Dew can do harm. You know, can it get on the gills? Can it do something that's detrimental to the fish?
And there he is.
I wonder.
Hey, Luke.
And
Hey
there he
guys,
is.
how are y'all?
Luke, turn
Great
sideways,
Luke
bro.
Duncan.
Turn sideways.
No, the
Yeah,
phone
I
upright,
got a
you
phone
sideways. There you go.
Let me get. I see this glare of the slide here. Hang on. There we go.
What's up, Luke?
Now I'm ready. I've only been waiting on this since like 12 o'clock today. Sorry, guys.
Been listening to Rocky music all day.
Yes, fired up.
Man, it's good to have you here with us, buddy. Man, it's been a while since I've seen you.
It has been. Oh, my deal fell. Yeah, it has been a while. And with all this craziness in the world, it's probably going to be a little longer, I guess.
Oh man,
See this beard in person again.
the beard is looking strong, my friend.
Well, it is. It's quarantine strong, I guess you can say. With this mullet, I got a lot of things going on right now.
Yeah, well, that's good. I know you do, and you've got a lot going on with TH Marine products, and we're talking about how to take care of our fish, man, and
Absolutely.
And it's very, very important to us. I know it's very important to you guys at TH Marine, and we talked about an awful lot tonight. And I know one of the things that we talked a little bit about, and I want to ask you it first because G-Juice is a product that you guys make as a live well treatment. And
Yep.
tell me how important that is, you know, to handling our fish. What do you think the importance of that is?
Well, I was just listening to you guys a little earlier talk about the Mountain Dew debate, and stopping bleeding, and that's something that G-Juice actually does that a lot of people don't realize. It has a coagulant in it that will slow that bleeding, and we have seen that. You know, you can pour it right on the bleeding, and we've seen it. It actually clots the bleeding. But G-Juice, it replaces the slime coat. It will. I heard Ken mention earlier when you're dumping ice in, the concern of that chlorine that you'll get. It actually has a dechlorinator in it as well, so it kind of counters that ice that you will put in there during the summer that you might buy at the store. But it replaces that slime coat, and I consider it like Gatorade for fish. So it helps with their electrolytes. Most of the benefits of it. Something else that you guys were talking about, I've been making notes, so if you see me jumping over here, just because you were talking about recircing your live well, and the good doctor there was talking about, bring in as much fresh water as you can. And I'm always a firm believer. I like to recirc, but the thing about G-Juice, it's blue in color. So once I've recirced that for a while, my live well will start to clear out, and that gives me a sign to replace with fresh water. That's just my own system, and there's nothing scientific behind that. Obviously, it's like the Mountain Dew thing. But I like that blue color because I know when I need to add more G-Juice or add more fresh water.
Is there a sedative in there? Like when we used to use the catch and release and some of the other products, I heard or read somewhere that it has something in there to relax or calm the fish down.
Now, G-Juice is actually the opposite. It does not have a sedative in it at all, and they'll get, especially smallmouth, they'll get wild after you dump it on them there. They get fired up.
So that's by design.
Yes, it is, and actually, so G-Juice in its original form was actually designed. It was called U2 formula. The original designer, inventor, and they put it in tanks with live lobsters for the food industry. Is actually what it was designed for in its original formula.
I love lobster.
Yeah.
So you can drink it if you need to. BTC.
You can?
I know Brian every now and then he needs a coagulant in his life.
Luke, we actually did that last Friday.
I saw the pictures.
Yeah, we had a rough one out here for Ike's 4th of July party, and Brian and I had to bounce back pretty quick. So,
Oh, dude,
I
how
saw
many
that.
freshwater clams did we eat?
well, G-Juice protects your stomach, gives you a fresh slime coat if you eat too many freshwater
it'll give you a
clams.
slime. It'll give you a slime coat for sure.
Yeah, so it's good stuff.
TH makes a product, and this is the doctor was talking about the importance to this is the Oxygenator.
Absolutely.
And this is designed to do exactly what we're talking about to increase the oxygen level. And tell us a little bit about that product.
So the Oxygenator, it's really neat how it works. It separates the hydrogen molecules from the oxygen molecules to create pure oxygen. That's the premise behind it. You'll see just a fine mist of oxygen bubbles coming up. And we've done a lot of, studies of our own as far as with those oxygen meters he's talking about. And it's not going to raise your oxygen levels to a crazy high amount like a pure oxygen bottle will. Nothing is better than, quote, pure oxygen in a well. But when you're bouncing around in a bass boat all day long, an oxygen bottle can become a bomb. We've seen in the saltwater world, we've seen that a lot of times. Guys will use that on their live bait tanks. Okay, and so we've seen oxygen bottles actually blow up on boats. So we've tried to steer people away from that. And like Corey said earlier, you can put too much in there. With the Oxygenator, it's a pretty steady amount. You're never going to get up around even 10 parts per million with it in what we've seen. But I can tell you that there's a reason every major bass boat manufacturer installs them at the factory, across the country, is they do work. And but you're not going to get that crazy high oxygen level but it's one of those things. It's water activated. You don't even have to hit a switch in the boat. When water hits it, it turns on. Very low battery draw with it. And it's just something it's on. You don't have to worry about it. Just keep fishing.
That's nice.
Luke, is it pulling oxygen from the water it's in, or is it pulling oxygen from the air outside?
So Ken, it takes the molecules in the water and it separates the hydrogen and the oxygen to just oxygen. It actually dissipates that hydrogen off of there. Is the science behind it. And I'm just a redneck that sees the bubbles coming up. And
I've seen the bubbles.
It seems like it works, right?
I've seen the bubbles years ago.
I see the bubbles, so it's got to be working. It's got a little green light on it, and I think it works. Right?
I appreciate the green light, and the bubbles are great, but I got to do it, guys. Doctor.
Yes.
What do you think about this thing?
I've never laid a hand on one, so I don't want, you know what I mean. And so it's easy to tell. Just get a meter and you'll see.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, it's easy to see. So I get that all makes sense. And bubbles obviously are good, right? Because there's gas going in there. So it seems like it would actually work.
How can it continually pull oxygen out of that water and separate it from the hydrogen? Don't you need to be recirculating and bringing new water in for that to happen?
Absolutely. And I'm swapping my water several times during the day, during a tournament situation. But I do like to use, especially this time of year, I like to get my well pre-treated with G-Juice. I get it going, and I like to recirc for a little bit. But then when that starts cleaning out, I like to, repeat the process, so to speak.
Yeah. So, we have a 5-point deduction for Ken Duke for badgering the witness.
Hey, that's fine. That's fine. This is we actually made a product when I've been with TH for 15 years, and we made a product called the Fish O2 when we first started. And that's when we really got into this oxygen stuff. And then they ended up buying the Oxygenator company. What Fish O2 did, it was actually like being hooked to an oxygen compressor in a hospital. It was a medical device, and we marinized it. But the thing was this big. It was a huge box. It was loud, but it would get your parts per million way up there. It was an interesting product. But so the Oxygenator puts a little less than that ever did. Like I said, we've messed with this for a long time. But in the oxygen, I get more questions about the Oxygenator than I think I do any other TH product other than the Hydrowave. Everybody wants to know if it's snake oil. and like I said, the little green light's on and the bubbles go. And I can tell you, I do take a lot of pride in my fish care. I always did when I was on tour, and all of us do. Every angler wants to take as good of care of the resources as we can, but sometimes we get in a hurry, we get stressed in a tournament situation, and we might, something might slip our mind. But having a product like the Oxygenator, it dang sure can't hurt. That's my thing. It's $150, and it's back there running while you're fishing. It doesn't hurt to have it.
You said
Not
it, Luke,
taking a
man. As long
shot,
as you're
not-
trying, as long as you're putting
not
in the effort to keep the
cross-examining.
fish healthy, it's going to go further than if you're not doing nothing. Put in the
Absolutely.
effort.
Well, speaking of that, Luke, what setting do you use your hydrowave on in your live well?
Well, that's a secret, and I actually learned that from Mike, so you can ask him.
We'll give you extra weight at the scale.
Mr.
That's the
1
key.
ounce, by the way. Mr.
1 ounce.
Wow.
1 ounce.
Jeez.
It's always got to be dramatic with that dude. Always.
Isn't that the truth?
Are you suggesting he was sandbagging into the last 5 minutes?
Most likely.
To
Most
make it
likely.
interesting? Well, despite what Ken says, I love the Oxygenator.
Don't let him shame you, Ken.
You make another great product. Keep them coming, Ken. We love it.
I love it.
The non-piercing cold tags, and you guys have gone through a few different designs on your cold tags, and I like where you're at right now. And that's got to be a successful product. Everybody's migrating over to that non-piercing.
Yeah, we've been fortunate with that product, and I hate to give Swindle any credit on anything ever, but he actually brought us the idea of that culling system in the beginning, which had the stringer clips on it, the original. But his idea was less handling of the fish because the cull floats themselves actually hang on that beam. And you were talking about balance beams earlier, and that was his idea. So when we married that with this conservation idea of these clips that we now have, it's just a win-win all the way around for the fish. Now, I'll say this with culling clips, and you guys can tell me your opinions too. We're all tournament fishermen. I look at my fish a lot, because I'm not used to catching that many. So I baby them more than I should. But sometimes I have seen cull float stress them out, even the non-puncturing kinds, and we sell them every day. But I have seen them, smallmouth sometimes, get really sketched out by them, and I don't know why. So I try to, monitor those fish during the day, and if you start to see one like he doesn't like that thing, I'll pull it right out of there. But they're definitely better than the stringer clip style for sure, because they don't leave those huge holes that we've all seen, those cull tag marks.
It's so amazing that you say that because, I've seen those giant fish. We catch them down on the Chesapeake. You'll catch a 6-pounder. Well, Brian the Carpenter never has, but sometimes we catch them.
Go, Pete.
And they have a cull tag hole in their jaw.
Oh yeah,
and it's fascinating because you're never going to cull that fish. Why are you hurting that fish? Why are you marking a fish that's so clearly above the rest of the fish you're ever going to catch?
Yeah, I've caught 5- and 6-pounders on Kentucky Lake, Pickwick, Gunnersville that'll have cull tags. And granted, they catch 30-pound bags there, but who's putting that fish on a cull tag? Even if you're culling up, who's putting that on a cull tag? Just reach in there and grab the stinking thing. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts. So I advise against that.
Guys, it's a psychological technique. If I see Pete Glusick coming my way and I've just caught a 5 or 6, I'm going to hold it up. I'm going to say, I think this one will keep. I guess I'll put a clip on him. It will.
You're hanging it on one side of the beam automatically.
I like it.
That'll get me every time.
I call it the Rojas effect.
Yeah. The one defense that I have heard from that is that people want to tag all 5 of their fish so that they never bring 6 fish to the scale.
Yeah.
That's the one argument.
Can we talk about for 2 seconds on that? Why is that penalty 2 pounds? Can somebody explain that to me? It's been talked to death, I know, but I don't understand why that's a 2-pound penalty. Has nothing to do with fish care, but that's crazy to me.
Yeah, it's too high.
Penalty.
Too high.
Too high, yeah. I mean, to me, it's just if you're at clear lake and it's a 2-pound penalty, you can come back from that. But like we saw with John Garrett at the Bassmaster Open on the Arkansas River, 2 pounds is huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's a tough amount to overcome. So I don't know. That's an odd one for me because it is just a mental lapse. I don't think people ever do that trying to gain an advantage, and most rules are set up to keep you from having an advantage over the field. And that's just, I don't know, that's an old school one for me. And I understand it's state laws and things like that too. That's a weird one.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I mean, the good thing is it's less than it used to be, right?
That's right. That's right. It's a lot less than it used to be. That's true.
You used to lose a fish, and the other thing is if you don't penalize, then here's like you're on a school of smallmouth like those guys are on today. Of course they don't have that restriction, but you catch your 6th fish. Man, I see 5 fish down there. I don't want to call. I can drop right now and catch them.
That's true.
And so if you eliminate that penalty, you're opening that window.
No, for sure. There's always room for a little gray.
Yeah, well, I got you. 2 pounds may be extreme, though. I did get that.
It's heavy. I mean, I think the penalty for failing a polygraph is less.
Yes.
They have a penalty for that?
Having it kept a secret from everybody in the industry and the sport?
How did this turn into Low Budget Live?
I invited you on. That's how.
You guys are going to get in trouble.
All right, Luke. It's been great talking to you.
Thanks.
Rich, I know we have some questions for Luke. What do you got?
Question from Stephen Bennett, and he wants to know everybody's opinion on this. Does a fish that takes a cull tag piercing hole, how long does it take for that hole to like seal up? If you tag that fish when it's a 2-pounder and 3 years later when it's a 5 or a 6, is it still going to have that hole in its mouth?
Maybe.
Who
Doctor probably would be the best one to weigh in on this.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like getting your ear pierced, right? Sometimes it's kind of something there, but maybe it kind of grows over. I don't know. I think usually they'll probably grow over. I mean, it's kind of an important area. The fish will try and probably grow that back, but if it's just a little tiny piercing hole, it's probably not a big deal. But if it's been ripped or something, that might take a little bit longer to kind of come back. So I don't know. Small is probably faster. Large probably take a little longer.
Yep. I was worried because you see the holes that get egregious because, in my opinion, the mistreatment of these fish by some of the anglers is they're so big that, man, he catches a bluegill. I bet you that bluegill just scoots right out of that hole. He does all that work, and dinner's gone. Yeah. So, we definitely need to stop on that activity.
That's right.
But Luke, what else do you guys have going on at TH Marine? Are there any other fish care products that I don't know about, or any updates?
Well, the craziest thing that a lot of people don't realize about TH is we sell to most of the boat manufacturers, right? So most of your live well systems feature TH Marine plumbing parts that we already make. We've always really focused in aeration. Bill Huntley, one of the original founders of TH, is old school tournament fisherman, was around when all this really first got going. Ray Scott, the whole 9 yards, and he really was very innovative in a lot of the live well systems in the beginning of Bumblebee boats and Triton boats back in the day when Earl first started. Bill really worked hand in hand. Actually, one of the items that we have that you can add simply to a recirc pump is a Max Air Venturi, and several companies make these, but you'll see the little faceplate. It'll just say Max Air, and what that does is it just draws in air, ambient air, and runs it through your recirc pump through a fitting called a Venturi fitting. So that's just bringing in air bubbles. So it does help with that oxygen situation too that you were talking about. And you see a similar setup on most bass boats, whether it's ours or somebody else's. There's a company called Flowrite that makes some products like that as well that are really, really good products. But we just make a lot of spray heads, aerator screens, different things like that. We've always been really involved in the live well in most bass boats.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate all the work that you do and the innovative products that you guys are coming out with.
So
we've.
So let me jump in, Pete. The two things, kind of takeaways that I got from tonight from talking to Dr. Susky, oxygen levels, and oxygen levels, and I still feel that temperature is a factor. I don't know that there's been enough study on temperature. I feel like, we've got really shallow lakes around here, mean depth of 3, 4, 5 feet tops. And I've seen temperatures in the upper 90s in the summertime. I just still think that, a little, a hot box and a live well, that temperature is going to rise. And, when are we going to see, live wells coming with an oxygen meter, a thermometer, a combination unit? And then, Luke, you alluded to something earlier when we were texting, that there is something that's already made like that, but it didn't sell.
Yeah, we've messed with some things like that, some oxygen meters and some temperature gauges like that, and I think the first person that can take this to the next level where it will work with your electronics. Like, I would love to have, my Garmin's pulled up and be able to see my live well temperature and to be able to see that oxygen level. Yeah. And you need to put in fresh water. Hey, maybe I need ice, especially like fishing a summertime tournament. We lose so many fish, especially like down here on the Tennessee River where I live. I mean, there's 6 tournaments a week, right? Every night of the week, just about, other than Sundays, there are tournaments, and we lose a ton of fish. And I think if we could have something simple, everybody's got electronics now. Most guys are really serious about that. If we had just something that just plugged in through NEMA or something that could show you, hey, you need to check on these fish.
Yeah.
That level might not be right. I think whoever does that, that's going to be a really innovative product for our industry that'll really save a lot of fish.
Yeah, I think it's important, especially when you can compare your live well temperature with the surface temp.
Absolutely.
Then you know what you're working with. Right. You got to bring it down or it's fine. Whatever.
Because we've all been in that situation where you're up front and you're worried about, oh man, I need to cull that last one I caught. There's an hour to go. You're looking and you don't check on them as much as you would if you had 25 pounds, right? The box, you'd be checking on them constantly.
Yeah.
But if you had that right there on that screen and you could see, hey, maybe things aren't good. Something else I've thought of, and I'm copywriting this, trademark right here, Bass you. But think if you had like an AquaView style camera in your well that you could see those fish, and you had a screen on your graph where you're sitting up front and you hit one of your favorite buttons and pops up and you can see that everybody's good. Yeah. We're all good. And you just keep fishing. So you don't have to constantly open that lid back and forth all day. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah. That's great ideas, Luke. Man, I love this. Because you open that lid and the fish get freaked out and they start jumping around in the live well. To be able to have a monitor in there to be able to see that would be amazing, and possibly an oxygen alarm, like set it off, like you got a bell ringing, you got to increase your oxygen. It's time, so it's going down too far.
Yeah, and a low oil alarm in your outboards, so you don't smoke your outboards every year and a half. That's another show, but what the F?
They have those, bro.
Yeah, they never go off at the right time.
Those are really creative with the, now our units can, like the Humminbird units, they can tell you how much fuel you have. They can tell you so much right there on your sonar units. There's got to be a way for this to be plugged in. So yeah, I think this is actually going to be a Bass University branded thing, Luke. But thanks for the idea.
Hey, I like it. You can send my royalty checks to Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. I'll text you my address. There was something else you guys were talking about, and Greg mentioned the pool noodle thing, and I think that's awesome. I've used that trick as well. But something that I think a lot of people don't realize in their live wells, because we all have these overflow drains at the top of our live wells most of the time. Mm-hmm. There are some companies playing around with some ideas for pressurized live wells where the water actually fills up almost to the lid. And a lot of times in those, especially rough water tournaments, I actually take a drain plug and put it in that overflow drain. That way, when they're sloshing around, I'm not losing water on those fish on long runs. And the more water you have, the less they can hit the walls, they stay in the water, So I like to fill that well as full as I can get it a lot of times. And you got to be careful because those overflow drains are in there for a reason. If you leave it plugged and you're filling fresh water, it can flood the boat. I mean, that drain's there for a purpose, but if you're paying attention and you fill that well to the max, I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing at all, especially if you're recircling on a long run or something.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, I've run those big runs, 60 miles across Lake Erie in 5-foot waves, and you got to stop. That's the other thing, and I recommend this to guys is, you got to stop. You got to fill your live wells back up, and
yes,
you got to take care of those fish. And guys, cut their time too short. They rush. They're too aggressive, and yeah, you can pay the price for that.
That water sloshes out of the live wells pretty quick.
Yes, it does.
It's, I mean, like just running in from the grass flat to the northeast, I'll notice it that I'll get back, pop the lid, and it's like half full, third of the way full. We got a question on the board. It's related to live well specifically from Joe V. What's the best way to clean your live wells between fishing trips, and does that have a benefit for the fish as far as keeping your live wells clean?
Man, that's a great
question. That is a good one. I am probably one of the messier people that's ever been on Bass U, so I'm not cleaning my live wells that much. I'll defer to Pete and Ken and the doctor and Greg on that.
Pete's never cleaned his live wells.
Ever. No, that's me. I didn't want to say that.
And neither have I. I feel like Greg is going to be the guy to maybe weigh in on this, knowing what I know about Greg.
I do clean mine, but I just clean mine physically. Like, if there's any kind of shells in there from crayfish, I take it all out. I do clean mine a lot. I take the screens off constantly, but I just use a rag and water.
Luke's beard looks like it would be really good at getting in the corners of that live well.
Yeah, it'll get in there.
I have heard guys use small amounts of chlorine to clean them. I'm not sure if that's a true thing or not, though.
There's a product. Somebody sells a product for it.
Is there?
Yeah. Trent Cole's sponsored by him, so I know.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
It's like
yeah, specific. I don't know.
Well, I will tell you this.
Trent Cole.
I do clean my live wells right before I put the boat up for sale, but
so, get the beer cans out of them.
but no, in all honesty, when you have a really great tournament and your live well has got crawfish parts and all kinds of stuff, and it will clog the screen.
Yeah, it can.
Definitely.
And that's a big deal. And I have not used chemicals anytime I do it, but I just take a pressure hose and I hand, like Greg said, I physically clean all the parts out that may be in there and just blast the screen to just to free it up and make sure that it's running. Because I have been in a situation where and this is hard to do because you're when you're on day-to-day tournaments and you're smashing them up like I usually do. And
all these 6-7 pounders just coming in and out constantly.
Yeah, constantly. By the second day of the tournament,
you're almost out of Senkos, right?
You can always find those, but you gotta pay attention in mid tournament. It's not just after the event's over. You got to make sure those live wells are functional. And it's usually in smallmouth tournaments. It's like when you're catching, a lot of times you get in them tournaments where you're catching 30, 40 fish and you got to go through them all. And, your live wells can get choked out. So,
Pete, have you ever had a fish in your live well so big that it ate one of the smaller fish in your box?
No.
And if so, how do you manage that situation?
Hey, you know what the question was, and I've seen guys, this is completely off topic, but they'll regurgitate a bluegill or a big shad. Is it legal to put that bait back in the gullet of the fish that discharged it?
Pete, everything's legal that you don't get caught.
I've actually tried to. I've tried to put those big bluegills in the weigh-in bag and bring them up to the scale.
No good.
not so good. It didn't work out for me. And then, I see some of the other boys that have been around a while, man, they got their elbows and they're jamming those bluegills right back in the belly of those fish, getting a couple of, look, GDP's one of them.
I didn't say that. Just that's where it came from.
Yeah.
You clean your live wells out.
Oh man, are you bumming GDP that you didn't get the fish this week?
I mean, yeah, I wanted to go to Cayuga. Yeah, I'm pretty bummed about that, but we're gonna have a makeup tournament for that event, but I don't know where it's gonna be at. We have the St. Lawrence and Champlain still lined up, so that's good.
I heard it was going to be at Fort Gibson in August.
Oh,
Should
man.
be great.
Might not go.
We'll go to Alabama. We'll go to Alabama. No doubt about it. Bass is going to save money. They can do a tournament in Alabama much cheaper.
Right. We'll see.
Coosa River.
That's it.
Let's go.
I'll
A
bet.
lot of good choices. Yeah, I'm going to say for a fall event,
It's gonna be in
real fun to
August.
watch.
They already have kind of
August,
the date.
okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be in August.
August.
Yeah. Yep.
Luke, what are you fishing these days? Are you fishing any? Are you picking up any of the opens, or what are you up to?
I'm not. So I'm just here at the house doing low budget live,
Yeah.
filming YouTube videos, making half the industry mad and half the industry happy, and fishing the mom's basement circuit. That's
Yeah,
what
I
I'm
like it.
fishing right
Good
now.
move right now.
No, I'll be honest. I'm this year. I was stepping away from the tour. I announced that last year. Just all the obvious changes that happened. I wasn't on board with, and I'm looking at the opens for next year
Okay.
right now. But schedule wise, it just didn't work out. When everything got crazy this year, I reconsidered, like, hey man, I might jump in the Central Opens, but I did not like that schedule, especially after they rescheduled it. I'm not a big fan of some of those lakes, and there were a couple I liked and a couple I didn't. So I'm just here at the house. I'm fishing a lot and fish more at home. I told somebody yesterday, I've traveled, 37 years old, and I've traveled since I was 19, pretty much all over. And this is the longest stretch I've ever been in my hometown since I was 19.
Wow.
So it's been nice. I've been home since really like the second week of March, but fishing with my kids a ton, and fishing a lot of fruit jar night tournaments with my 12-year-old is all in right now,
Right on.
which is awesome. And that's the age that I really got fired up. So I can sacrifice some Bass Opens and some FLW tours for that. It's been pretty stinking awesome, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I'm with that. I hear you, bud.
Man, that's great. That's great. That's great to hear. And maybe I'll see you out on the opens next year.
Yeah, hope so.
I hope so. I hope so too. I know a lot. Well, we'll see what happens. The Oneida Lake tournament has an open coming up and hasn't been canceled yet, but that lake is terrible, so I don't have any interest in going there. But I did just hear the guys coming back from Cayuga really are struggling up there right now, GDP. So
Yeah.
you may have, your boy Hartman was up there, and he was commenting it's as tough as he's seen it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
I heard he got a flat on his RAV4.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
RAV4.
Well, I know he was he was fishing with some of the Cash and Icons up there, so
Yeah.
look for that.
Which, by the way, we were giving one away tonight.
Yes,
That's right.
Isn't that right?
Speaking of
Rich?
which, it might be time. It might be time to give one of those away. I think.
Ken, why don't you hit us with the panel question? We got Luke and we got the great doctor here.
Okay, perfect, guys.
Let's hit it.
This is a question that's only open to the panel. I did not share the answer with either Brian or Riz, so
This is true.
it's wide open here. There are 424 entries in the new product showcase for ICAST this year. What company has the most entries
This year.
this year? Not historically, just this year. What company has entered the most products in the showcase trying to win a Best of Show award?
Costa Del Mar.
Costa Del Mar has exactly one entry, Pete, so you're about 19 short.
Wow.
This company has 20
You're the
entries.
first loser.
That changes it.
Lunker Hunt.
Z-Man.
Z-Man has like 16, but they're not the most.
Wow. That's a lot. It's a good guess.
That's a lot.
It's a bunch. Who was that? Who was eliminated there?
Me, Luke,
Luke. Sorry,
the
Luke.
Oxygenator guy.
Luke, you know I'm a fan. You know I'm not going after you, brother.
I know, Ken.
All right.
I'm just giving you a hard
All
time, buddy.
16.
So Pete and Luke are out.
Wow,
The number is 20. Corey, you got a guess?
I'll go with Berkeley.
Berkeley is a fabulous guess, and Pure Fishing, as a total umbrella company, has 16. Many of those are Berkeley products, but with Z-Man, they're in a three-way tie for second place.
Wow.
Yeah, I was going to say them, but it was too obvious. I felt like.
Right.
Exactly. You don't embarrass yourself.
That's a really tough one. I mean, can we have a hint because we made it this far?
Yeah, because we didn't say anything yet.
I think I know.
I think I know too. I think it has something to do with Luke Duncan.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I don't think.
This is a company that you don't think of as being in a ton of different categories.
Yeah.
And in fact, 9 of these entries are in one category, which is kind of an interesting, cool thing I'm seeing at ICAST this year. A lot of companies, instead of trying to win the awards, they're thinking to themselves, hey, people aren't going to look much deeper than the new product showcase, so we're going to put all our new stuff out there, even if it's multiple entries in the same category. That's what these guys have done. That's what Z-Man did. That's what some other companies are doing as well. So it's not a company with a ton of different product categories, but they're shoving everything out there, not worried about winning an award, just worried about getting seen, which I think is a really savvy move.
Interesting. Is it a lure company?
No.
Oh.
What the hell?
Wow.
I don't know.
It's got to be an apparel company.
Everybody on this show has purchased a product from this company at some time in their angling career.
Columbia.
Every one of us.
No.
Columbia.
I know who it is. Dang it. I can't answer. Wish I had a buzzer.
Luke, text me.
Oh, yeah. That's a good idea.
You'll share in the big prize that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Every one of us
Any
has bought a
guesses on
product.
the message board, Rich?
Yes. I mean, should I say them?
Go for it.
Hook, AFCO, Bass Mafia.
Johnson.
No, not Johnson
Yeah, you can
Outdoors.
read.
Guggen.
Guggen's got quite a few, but no.
Huh.
I don't know. This is a really tough.
Zebco.
No.
There
Luke, I'll give you another big hint, and you're going to all have to race to the finish line because I know somebody's going to get it here. There's an absolutely excellent chance that the first fish you caught was on one of their products.
Yes.
Redco.
Yeah.
Rapala. Who catches their first fish on a Rapala?
Mike.
Come on.
Eagle Claw.
I did.
Eagle Claw is the correct answer.
Eagle Claw.
Nice.
Nope.
Luke, how
Is
did
Is
you
it
not get
terrible
that?
that I'm sponsored by them?
Yeah.
It's not an easy one to get, though, Luke. You know,
Sorry,
you think
guys.
You hear
I
that?
did get a press release. I got a press
You hear that,
kit
Mike Jackson?
yesterday.
Maybe you should be sponsoring me.
That's right.
Yeah. Send it Ken's way.
But hey, kudos to Mike Jackson, my friend at Eagle Claw, because I think that's a really savvy move. They put 20 new products out there in the showcase, not too concerned about winning because they're competing against themselves, but they are guaranteed a lot of eyeballs and a lot of orders because they're going to get a lot of exposure.
And they got a lot right now.
They got a lot right now. Oh my gosh.
How about that?
Yeah, but not as much as Rapple is going to get when I send Luke a shirt to wear on his next low budget live show.
Bring it. Let's make sure the DT16s and DT10s come with it.
That's right.
I like it.
Fair enough.
Panel's performance tonight.
That was a tricky
Terrible.
question.
That was a tough
It
one.
was a tough one.
Ken, what do I win?
I'm going to put in a good word for you with our guest next week. How about
Oh, you're the man.
Hey,
An
Ken,
invite to
just in
Beanville
case-
Plantation.
Ken, just in case Mike Jackson wasn't watching this, be sure to tell him I guessed that within 10 seconds.
that? I got you covered, Luke. Don't you worry. Don't you worry, man. You're good. You're good. I know Mike loves you, so you have nothing.
I love Mike. He's a good man.
He's a great man. Here's a hilarious Mike Jackson story that if I know Luke knows him well, but if you guys don't. So we're at the Bassmaster Classic, and Mike and I both serve on the trade show committee of ASA. We we help oversee and decide what happens at ICAST. So one day late in the afternoon, we've got a trade show committee meeting, and it's in some obscure, tough part of the convention center to locate. So we're and everybody's a little bit worried about the virus. You know, there aren't many masks out there, but people are a little bit worried, and everybody's fist bumping and they're not shaking hands. So I see Mike, and I go over to shake his hand, and he says, "No, we can't do that anymore." And instead, he gives me a big hug. It's like the craziest response now, 4 months later. But that's Mike Jackson.
That's Mike. Yep.
Really good guy, great company.
Eagle Claw.
Excellent. Well,
Eagle Claw.
Well, you tricked us the staff here on that question. Last time, of course, you got the last 2 or 3 times.
Oh yeah,
the Bash University crowd has been all over you, and I'm very excited and interested to see what kind of question you have for us tonight.
I got one tonight. I can't promise it's going to be super tough. I think it's going to be a little bit tough. And at the very least, it's going to take them time to type the answer. So I'm going to put them through their paces that way.
And this is for Cash and Rod, everybody. Everybody on the BassU.TV website. Right?
That's correct. Absolutely. It's not too late. You can get signed up still with code BULive30. Get over there. Sign up now. Takes 1 minute. Go.
And commercial break. No.
I'll let BTC and the Riz tell me when they're ready for that one. But
Ken, real quick. So right now we'll give people another shot to share tonight's feed and come on over, sign up. You got like 5 minutes, and you get a chance to win this brand new American Icon Cash and Rod. Not even available for sale yet. You could win it here tonight. But Ken, earlier we were talking about ICAST and how we're missing ICAST this week, and we're doing the virtual ICAST and unable to go to Florida, which is amazing. And I was sharing with you how this is like probably my favorite week of the year. I go down, I get to work hard and see a lot of people and a lot of friends and hang out with Luke and have nights that we forget half of it and try to piece the parts back the next day. And it's a great time. And look at our phone for clues. But the other fun part is the ICAST Cup. And last year I got a chance to fish the ICAST Cup with John Cox, which is fantastic.
Very cool. That was awesome.
Got to fish with John Cox in Florida. It was pretty awesome. And I waxed his ass. Whatever. But you were telling me your experiences with fishing the ICAST Cup, and you had a pretty good offer.
The first year of ICAST on the water and the first year of the ICAST Cup, I was helping ASA out to run the event up on the bank of West Lake Toho in Kissimmee. I was helping them organize and the exhibitors and so forth. And so I knew I was committed to that. I knew I wasn't going to be able to fish the tournament and have fun and enjoy myself. And lo and behold, what happens? But my phone rings, and Bill Dance asked me to fish the tournament with him. What? And I have to say, no, I can't do it. And I just want to pound my head against a cement wall because, that's a bucket list item for me, guys, to fish with the man, the most famous bass fisherman in the world, the first great superstar of our sport.
Yeah.
But I can't do it. I said, Bill, I'm so sorry. I've got to work. So what does he do? He goes out there with Cody Detweiler, who's probably the best stick on the lake, and they win the tournament.
Of course.
I could have been the third guy in that boat. Instead, it's somebody from Florida Sportsman. So I am hurting myself thinking about this. So a year goes by, and I figure the phone's not going to ring again like that, but I make sure my slate is clean, my calendar's clean. I got nothing I got to do that day. Bill calls again, asks me if I want to join him and Cody Detweiler and fish the ICAST Cup. It takes me less than that long to say, yes, thank you, Bill. I would love to do that. So the day comes, get out there. If you don't know Cody Detweiler, he and his dad run Big Toho Marina, and they're wonderful, amazing, fabulous people. And Cody's this big, tall guy. He's like 6'7", and he's probably the best stick on the entire lake. So I'm with the best stick on the lake. I'm with Bill Dance, and then there's me. So it's not hard to see who doesn't fit here. But we're in Cody's boat, and we're pulling out. And because it's Cody's boat and Cody's marina and everything else, we're kind of idling out first. And a whole bunch of my buddies see me, because I live in this area. And a whole bunch of my buddies see me standing on the bank. And at first they're just shocked. What the hell am I doing in the boat with Cody Detweiler and Bill Dance? But then they realize, they start yelling to me. And they're not yelling, "Good luck, Ken. Go get him, Ken." They're yelling, "Ken, you suck." But I still had a great day, and I felt really good that they hated me that much in the morning. I liked it. I don't mind being hated.
So you didn't win.
Oh, we finished 7th or 8th.
Okay.
I had a blast. And I caught one that made it to the scale, so I felt good about that.
We finished second. We got beat by Peter T.
Yeah, that was you got beat by another great Florida stick.
Yeah. We had to fish on to win it too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun and a cool opportunity to fish with some neat people and
we actually could have won it. They had a spot that they were hiding, and we only went there. We ran out to it with like 40 minutes left in the tournament, and I know John and his buddy they didn't want to give it up during the event.
And as I recall the story, Brian, didn't you pretty much carry the team that day?
I did. Yeah, Hunter Shryock was in the boat too, and he netted all my fish.
Great work, Hunter.
Yeah, dude, that Crestliner, I got to tell you, there were 4 of us in the boat, and then we never bumped into each other. That thing was like 14 feet wide, and I don't think we ever got over 35 miles an hour, but we weren't trying to either.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah. All Senko fish.
No, come on, I got morals.
Hey, what was Bill Dance? What was Bill Dance's fishing game like? That must have been an awesome experience to watch him fish.
Well, first of all, Bill turns 80 later this year, and that tournament would have been in 2016. So at the time, Bill would have been 75, 76 years old.
Wow!
The man stood up the whole time. He matched everybody cast for cast. This wasn't a slow worming thing. We were working top waters. We were working spook style baits. We were swimming speed worms. So it was a pretty active thing. And Bill's out there matching everybody cast for cast. Caught several fish. At least one of his made it to the scales too. That guy doesn't give up. He's got a serious competitive edge that's lasted 60 years.
Wow.
Did he revisit all of his Angler of the Year titles with you? Just to
well, Bill has revisited the Angler of the Year titles with me, but not when we were out fishing. He takes it seriously. There's not a lot of chit chat.
No, well, he totally dominated the sport in his day. I mean,
oh, he did. Here's a number for you guys that y'all will appreciate. Bill once won, and these were with huge fields, often over 200 anglers. Bill won 7 of the first 14 BASS tournaments. How about that?
And he didn't even use a Senko, Pete.
And he did not use a Senko, Pete. No weightless worms at all, because that's a lot of fish parachutes.
He would have if it was available.
Damn right. He would have won 14 of 14.
He would have won 14 of 14.
It's safe to say Gary Yamamoto he's probably not a big fan of us.
He gets more promotion from me than anybody.
Yeah, maybe he's your biggest fan.
Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know if you remember the Corey Schmidt from Tackle Warehouse deal, but it's like the Senko, the next 12 stick baits added together don't sell as much as the Senko sells.
Amazing. But I'm curious as to how many black Senkos you're selling, Pete Glusick.
I don't know.
How many are you moving?
Quite a bit. I see everybody switching over. They're all switching over.
Pete invented it.
Yeah, right. I invented it. I told Gary, you got to make it all black, and they'll buy, and everybody will buy. They will come. But I think we've given everybody long enough to come over and subscribe. Let's run this question,
guys. If we're ready, here we go. Of course, this is ICAST week. And ICAST stands for International Convention of Allied Sport Fishing Trades. Not a lot of people remember that. And ICAST actually started in 2002. That's when the American Sport Fishing Association changed the name of the biggest trade show to ICAST. What was the name of the big trade show before it became ICAST? And I want the full name, not the acronym. So start typing now. If you start typing now, you should be done in 4 or 5 minutes.
Man, we had this conversation on the phone just a little while ago, and I still don't know the answer to this question. I can't remember. I cannot remember what it was called. Do you remember, Luke?
I don't remember. That was before my time.
Yeah, Luke's a little too young for that one, but it was run by the same organization.
It was in
the show moved
2000.
around more.
It was 2002, right? When
That was the
ICAST
first
started.
ICAST. Yeah.
Right. Yep. So it was is 2001 and prior to that.
Yeah, lasted a long time. I mean, that event went on since the 50s, I think. I want to say since about 1955 or so.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to find a lot of data on that event. I attended a few of them because there used to be a consumer element to it as well that we do not have with ICAST. And if I don't shut up soon, I'm going to say it accidentally. So I better.
Yeah,
We're almost at a minute. We're at 1 minute and it hasn't been answered yet, Ken.
This is a record. This is a record.
Wow, Ken, you surpassed the last 2 weeks.
Stumper. I'll look it up.
You're back,
The Bass
baby.
U fans are probably laughing too hard at the idea of all my friends yelling, "Ken, you suck!" At Big Toe Marina.
They must be from Jersey, those friends.
Luke, are you still talking to Mike about coming up here this fall?
Yeah, we're going to try to do a Boats and Pros up there.
Yes.
Cool. That would be cool if you could make it up here. Get up
Sport-
here before the
sport
world
alert.
shuts down.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know where all this craziness is headed, man. Goodness gracious. I finally
Let's go to
know people that have COVID. I didn't for
Wow.
like the first several months. I didn't know anybody, but now I actually know several here in my hometown that now they're not really that sick, but not like some of the stories you hear. But they're definitely feeling it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think we figured out how to treat it a little better.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think I've been watching the Florida numbers, and I think the main outbreak from there is from the Bienville plantation event that recently took place.
we actually were social distancing very nicely there. I got a new nickname for Justin Kimmel when he comes back on the show. We got to call Justin 4-wheel drive because there were a couple of days where he wasn't able to get his boat up the ramp, and he had to enlist the assistance of some 4-wheel drive to get out. So 4WD is JK's new nickname.
Ken in Michigan says that the name of the show was Pete's Awesome Fishing Expo. That is not the correct answer, but it's
They
a great answer.
considered that. They considered that for a while, but when they decided not to hold it in New Jersey, they went back to this other name.
Wow. It's 3 minutes. Wow. 3 minutes now. I don't know if we're going to get the right answer.
I'm looking it up.
So when's your next derby, Luke? You fishing a night tournament this week?
I'm not. My next one is August 1st with my 12-year-old and my 9-year-old. There's a really cool deal down here called the Shoals Youth Bassmasters. It's on Pickwick, Wilson, and Wheeler, and you can fish with. They don't limit you to how many folks can be in the boat. So a lot of times my dad and I both take my two youngest boys, and then my brother will take one of my older boys. But it's really cool. They just no money involved at all, but they give them trophies, and my fish count for them. But so I'll take my 12-year-old and my 9-year-old to those. So we try to catch 2 limits, which is near impossible in August on the Tennessee River. But they let them weigh in 10-inch fish, which is kind of cool. So, and everybody that weighs in a fish gets a door prize on August 1st. And I haven't got to do one of those with them in a couple of years, so they're pretty excited. They all got rescheduled. They normally start in May, but they're starting up in August this year.
Cool,
so
man.
that's my next big one.
Yeah, very cool. Go ahead, Rich.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
What?
And the winner is Joe V. And the correct answer is American Fishing Tackle Manufacturers Association. Congratulations, Joe V.
Joe V.
You won yourself a Cashin' Rods icon, and that rod is bad to the bone. Congratulations.
That valued at $5,000 or thereabouts.
That's right.
Ballpark.
Big giant.
Which
Very
model?
impressive, Jovi. Very impressive. Took a while. I'm glad I finally put the Bass U students
Well done, Ken. Make them
a
work.
little bit through their paces. I got to make them work for it.
We're going to
My
send you a
questions-
prize, Ken.
Pete, when's your dead stick model coming out from Cashin? It's got a timer on it, right? A little hourglass that flips over and tells you when to twitch again.
It's like an egg timer.
And then when you flip it over again, it tells you what time to go pick up your check.
Oh man.
Ryan, the timer is to wake the angler up.
Good stuff, Pete.
I wish I had that one on film at the Ike Derby. Oh my gosh, Luke, I'm throwing out, retying, and my rod starts beating against the trolling motor because a fish has my Senko and is desperately trying to get away while I'm ignoring
Broadcasting to the fish.
it. Yeah, retying. He strung out about 100 yards of line, but we managed to catch the fish and weigh him in. But,
I like it.
good stuff. Good stuff. But
There you go.
hey, that was awesome. I think we all learned a lot. I hope we focused everybody to take a little time. Let's, there's still a lot of research that can be done in this area. I love some of the ideas from Luke about getting those live well monitors involved. And Doctor, I appreciate all the insight.
Yes.
And the influence
Absolutely.
on
That
the
was awesome.
the importance of oxygen and as number one. Thank you guys very much for hanging out with us tonight.
Yes, thank you.
We still have a like and share giveaway. We're going to announce that, BTC.
Yeah, we are going to, and apparently my name is BTC now.
Yes.
I was expecting that question, so I was ready to answer it. We are going to announce the Bash University Like and Share winner tonight. And by the way, guys, the Like and Share winner tonight is going to get a Tackle Warehouse hat, a Storm Arashi glide bait, Tokyo rigs, Nico hooks, a Rapala Rip and Wrap, and an RTD rod threading device. So it's a sweet prize pack coming to one of our Like and Share peoples, and the winner of that is Kenneth Chu. Congratulations, Kenneth Chu. You are tonight's Facebook Like and Share winner.
We would like you, Kenneth, to take your winnings and go right over to bashu.tv and subscribe, for crying out loud. Come over and join us over here at bashu.tv.
That's right.
But thanks for watching. Thanks for watching on
672 dead stick seminars by the one and only Pete Glusick.
That is false information. No. There's over 700 instructional seminars on Bashu TV, delivered by the best anglers in the world, like Luke Duncan.
Yep.
Fish and tail races. Come on with it.
Yeah, fish and tail races on a frigid day. That was that's one I'll never forget. I'll be honest. I froze poor Justin to death.
Good stuff, man. Good
stuff. That's great. That's great stuff, and we appreciate you adding to Bash University. This is we've had you on Ike Live a few times, but this is your first appearance on Bash University.
It is
TV live.
It is.
We appreciate you bringing your game.
Well, I thank you guys for having me, and for all you guys do. It's if you're not a member, you need to sign up. It's the real deal. You can go to seminars and get a few nuggets from people, but you guys get the goods for sure.
Well, we definitely try to do that. And Dr. Corey Susky, appreciate you taking your time being with us, wearing your really cool shark shirt to fit our fish model here at Bass University. Appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate
it. You bet.
Luke, who do you got coming down the? Who's your next interview on LBO?
I'm not sure. BTC. I normally just wing it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that comes across that way or not. It's very low budget. Yeah. No, I'm not sure. I'm going to try to get whoever wins this Bass Pro Tour event. I'm going to try to get them on this week. And this week I was talking some Bass Pro Tour details, and Jesse Wiggins, one of their anglers, reached out to me and said he wants to come on and kind of voice his opinion over everything that's going on there. So may have Jesse on.
I like Jesse.
Yeah, Jesse's a good one. Jesse's a good guy, and but he reached out. So not sure yet. It's still early in the week for me. I normally don't record till Sunday, and I normally make a decision on who I'm going to have on about Saturday night at midnight.
Yeah.
So
we'll be on.
How it goes.
We'll be on Sunday night as well. Ike Live, we have, I'll talk to Mike as soon as he gets, I guess he's fishing again tomorrow, right?
Show
He is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
By 1 inch.
Hopefully he wins, and I'll get to have him
Yeah.
on.
Well, you can't because we'll be live.
Well, I'm not going live though. It's low budget live. Not so-
Simulcast. He's got a simulcast. Get with the technology,
Yeah.
kids.
We could do that. I don't know how.
Yeah,
We'll
that
have
would
to
be
find
fun.
somebody that knows how.
That'd be fun.
But yeah, I've got Alabama. What the hell's his name? Rich.
What's up?
Who do I line up?
Ryan Salzman.
Oh yeah, Ryan Salzman. You know him, Luke?
Yeah, I got his truck shot up.
Yeah, he's coming on Sunday night. Tell
Okay.
us why somebody put 11 bullet holes in his truck at the boat ramp.
Oh.
So we got to get to the bottom of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
And then next Tuesday, back here at Bass U Live, post ICAST show, and we're working on some big guests. We've already got one locked up, going in deep on some more electronic stuff, and we'll see how the rest of ICAST shakes out.
Bash U picks.
That's it.
Yes, sir.
Take us
Rich,
home, Peter.
Rich, what do you got?
We have a few new things coming out on Bash U TV this week. Today we released Mike Iaconelli's Walking Frogs versus Pushing Frogs. That's a really good seminar. Not all frogs are built the same. Different situations call for different frogs to be used, and he breaks that down. We have Becoming a Better Tournament Angler with Jamie Hartman releasing on Thursday. And later this week, we have an interview with Tyson Alvanos of Humminbird releasing on Bash U TV, where he breaks down the different models and their best uses and ways to effectively use your electronics. So there's a lot of good stuff coming out on Bash U TV daily. Get over there and sign up. Join the program. Catch more big bass.
Yes.
Tyson knows all about sonar, so you definitely want to check that out. Guys, thanks to everybody for being here. Appreciate you, GDP. Thank you too, buddy. Appreciate you coming in the studio. We wish everybody the best of luck. GDP out on tour. Luke at your derby with your kids. Doctor at picking out some cool shirts next time around, and keeping us posted on all the latest and greatest. Ken, thank you very much. BTC the Riz, thank you, Riz, for your help today. And we will be back next Tuesday with another Bash U Live. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Thank you, guys.
See you guys.
It's Mike Iaconelli. This is Bash U TV. Here's what's awesome about Bash U TV.
You get the top instructors.
You will learn things at Bash U that you will learn nowhere else.
And we help you build confidence with new techniques.
We take the mystery and the myths out of bass fishing.
Real tools that help you catch more fish consistently.
At Bass U TV, shoes are optional.
And I like turtles.
We teach you to enjoy bass fishing.
And that's why you want to check out Bash U TV.
Join the Bass U family.
Welcome to Bash U TV.